TWM podcast.
We are 1 week away from Backlash. It's everything you ever want. It's everything you ever need. And it's here right in front of you, well, in a week. But before that, we do have another episode of SmackDown on Fox to get through. We've got the Women's Tag Team Championships on the line. We have build-up to the finals of the Intercontinental Championship tournament. We also have the return of what I hope from the WWE Network is Swerved. That's from you, Rhys. Welcome to Smack Talk. I am Tom, and before we get forward, just to let you know, we are brought to you by the Wrestling Movement. That's right, TWM. We've had a little bit of a rebranding if you've been paying attention, but we're still going to be called TWM Podcast. Keep it short in your mouth. So, TWM Podcast, we're brought to you by, as always, We Love Sport, the fantastic app, finding you your nearest sports bar, showing the latest WWE pay-per-views, and We Love Sport has over 400 of the best sports bars and pubs in the UK at your fingertips and allows you to book front row seats, giving you the best views of the action when you're not in lockdown. Obviously, not happening at the moment, but that's absolutely fine. You can also check up on sports that are being shown over the next 7 days when the bars are open, making sure you don't miss a second of the action, and they're also putting on some fabulous content during our quarantine time. So download the We Love Sports app at the App Store or Google Play Store. Follow We Love Sport on all social media platforms at We Love Sport UK, and check out welovesport.co as well. And TWM Wrestling, the Wrestling Movement, wanted you to check out 1310 Apparel as well, your place for fresh, fashionable wrestling merchandise. They've got t-shirts, they've got hats, they've got hoodies, and loads more, all available at your fingertips. And as we've partnered up with them, you can get 25% off at checkout just by using the code TWM25 when you go to 1310apparel.bigcartel.com. You can follow them at 1310 Apparel on Facebook and Instagram as well. They're also on Twitter at 1310 app. And once again, TWM25 at checkout to get 25% off at the previous website mentioned at 1310apparel.bigcartel.com. That's one more time, 1310apparel.bigcartel.com. Make sure you put 13 as the word. Otherwise, I don't know where you're going to end up. Like what we used to do, but this was before I was here, actually. We're getting back just to the fun of it. We're going to be putting out 1, maybe 2 podcasts a week. And when we say that, though, it's going to be a giant Twitch stream where we talk about everything that's happening in that week's of wrestling. Everyone's going to pop in and out. It's going to be fun. But we're also going to be expanding on our video content as well. So over the next coming weeks, please keep an eye on our YouTube channel. Go to TWM Wrestle on YouTube even, and hopefully soon you will see a lot more original content. Until then, though, we still have last night's episode of SmackDown to get through. So let's get on with it. Now, to start off with, as I may have mentioned in the start, there was a Women's Tag Team Championship match to main event the show. We had the current champions, Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross, defending against the best friends of SmackDown. That's right, we had the WWE SmackDown Women's Champion, Bayley, and Sasha Banks teaming up. Now, what did you think of this, Rhys? There's one thing I'm getting annoyed at, and that's the fact that they keep on cutting out Sasha Banks' theme tune just as Snoop Dogg cuts in. It's really annoying me.
Yeah, I noticed that. It was just about to get to the good bit of the theme, and then it just cut out. But then Bayley's theme is a bit of a banger as well, so I can't complain too much about that.
It's okay, but honestly, it is nothing compared to Sasha Banks' new theme song. So we had.
I think maybe take the bit right at the start out and just go straight to the Snoop Dogg bit. The bit at the start, I feel like doesn't really fit with the rest of the song.
Oh, see, I've always liked, though, that they keep that little bit from her original theme. For me, it would make sense if they come to Bayley's track before Snoop Dogg says anything, so you don't get excited. But, well, we're not here to talk about the theme. We're here to talk about the match. And I will say yet again, we're getting solid wrestling on these weekly shows at the moment. had a different feel, obviously, because we've now got the NXT development talent around ringside as well. I honestly, it's nice having a crowd, but sometimes I'm like, I miss that quietness, being able to hear the wrestlers talk more.
Like, to be fair, I think I'd rather it without a crowd than like this crowd. Everything, it doesn't seem genuine. Everything seems very, put on, which like it clearly is. Like they've been told to go there and just like it doesn't feel natural. I mean, it's like and like some aspects, it does feel better having some background noise, like when a heel's getting a promo and you hear some jeering for them. Like I will admit that does add a lot to it, but I don't know. It's kind of insulting, I think, that WWE can't let the crowd, the viewers at home, make their own mind up on things. That they need people there to be telling them how they should be reacting to everything. I'm not a massive fan of it, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, for me, when you compare it with what AEW have done, now AEW, because they use their main roster, obviously they've only got a main roster, they haven't got a development brand, but because they've used main roster talent like Sean Spears, like when they had MJF at ringside, Colt Cabana, all these people at ringside, they added, and they were able to start off little storylines as well. Now, obviously WWE is a bit harder because you've got that plexiglass around the ring, which fair enough. It's not like the wrestlers are going to communicate after or before the show at all. But it's, yeah, I'm not sure. It's like they've cut into a 2K game with the wrestler, with the noises on the crowd. It just doesn't feel genuine. It feels repetitive, and it's like, boo, yeah, boo, you suck, yeah, boo, boo,
With
like that.
With AEW though, it does feel a lot more natural. Like one of my favorite things to do when watching AEW at the moment is just looking in the crowd to see what Austin Gunn is going to do next.
Yeah, you can see they've been given a lot more freedom, but alas, we're not here to talk about AEW. We're here to talk about SmackDown, and we're getting away from the point. We actually have new women's tag team champions, and we have, again, two-time champions in Bayley and Sasha Banks. And Sasha Banks, again, getting the pinfall. But there was some really nice bits in this match. One particular part I loved. It was when Sasha Banks obviously had the bank statement in, and Bayley came in and went, no, shoved her out, put on a submission of her own, and then she got reversed and nearly lost the match. Now, in hindsight, for me, obviously it's going to look like Bayley's trying to steal the spotlight off Sasha again, but she didn't. Sasha wasn't the legal person, and she, quite rightly, as was picked up on commentary, could have got disqualified. But do you think, even though they're tag team champions, that's going to cause an even bigger rift now between both of them?
Well, I think it will, because like when you're in the heat of a moment, you're not normally thinking, well, sort of like character-wise now, when you're in the heat of a moment, you're not thinking rationally. So when Sasha's got the bank statement in and Bayley comes and tries and break it up, like naturally her first instinct is going to be like, what are you doing? And she's going to be annoyed about that. But yeah, like you said, I think it was Graves then picked up on comms that, of course, the blind tag had been made. So yeah, she wasn't the legal woman. Michael Cole annoyed me a bit because he kept going on about like, oh, where's Bayley breaking it up? I'm like, Cole, Graves just told you. Like,
yeah,
give it
that's one thing about this commentary team sometimes I don't like, is that they don't tend to listen to each other that much. And obviously you got Graves being the heel, but I do feel like they're trying to override each other quite a bit, which can get a bit annoying. But yeah, for the win though, obviously Nikki Cross looked to roll up Sasha Banks after getting out of the bank statement, but then it looked like in a type of a crucifix roll-up pin. Banks was able to reverse it into the roll-up for the victory, and we have new women's tag team champions. Now, for me, the women's tag team champions, again, a lot more prominence these days than they were, say, a year ago when the Iconics kind of disappeared with them, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, you look at like, obviously Sasha and Bayley are like main eventers in the women's division. So now, you have the tag titles being held by the top stars in that division, whereas before, like, I love the Iconics, but I don't think they would. I think they'd probably be more like mid-carders.
Yeah.
In the division. So, and then, I guess the same with, like, Alexa Bliss is probably one of the bigger stars in the women's division. Like, Nikki Cross is, probably a bit more of a mid-carder. Like, she's getting there. But, yeah, it feels like they're taking it a bit more, those titles a bit more seriously now.
Yeah, definitely. And for me as well, this opens up the possibility now of Bayley and Sasha jump into Raw to defend the tag team champions, which opens up a lot more doors for them. We could see them interacting with Asuka again, for example. A lot of different possibilities there, which is very exciting.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's maybe a smart way then of getting people over to Raw, because they brought in that new the wild card rule, but definitely isn't the wild card rule.
Of course, the brand-to-brand invitational, something that they sound like that, something that sounds like they're making up as they go along. Hence, we're going to want that person on SmackDown more, so we'll just trade AJ Styles to SmackDown. That'll make sense, and we'll trade people back to Raw, and so on and so forth. And we're going to see a lot of random trades going on due to this rule.
Yeah, but as you said, the women's tag titles is just an easy way to get around that, because obviously they can go on both brands.
Very true. Okay, and throughout the night as well, we kind of got a little homage, a little return to one of my favorite shows on the WWE Network, Swerved. For anyone who hasn't seen SmackDown, we had Miz and Morrison throughout the night in the back of a truck with spy equipment, pulling pranks on Braun Strowman. So it started off with them somehow making Braun Strowman's protein shake explode all over him. And then after that, they dunked DX-style green paint over Strowman, except it didn't go over Strowman, it went over Kayla, which was brilliant. And then finally, the last one, they decided to destroy Braun Strowman's car. Now, obviously, we know that Miz Morrison, even though the heels are going to be kind of jokers, but Braun Strowman is not the type of guy that you would want to mess around with.
No, you're just going to, like, annoy him even more by doing that. He's not the kind of guy that you're going to get one over on him, like, get in his head by doing stuff like that. You're just going to annoy him, and he's just going to batter you even harder.
Yeah, and I will say, though, because of the lack of these two on SmackDown last week, or at least, obviously, the two sides, we didn't see any of them apart from Braun Strowman for a minute at the beginning. It's feeling nice and fresh.
The car just came out of nowhere.
Oh my God, yeah. Oh, we'll get onto that in a bit. But this little feud, it's feeling really fresh. And it's a nice little mix of, okay, we still had our champion kind of on TV last week, but we don't have to address that every week. We've got the Intercontinental Championship tournament that can take everyone's focus properly, but this can just simmer. And I can see this being a really fun match at Backlash.
Yeah, definitely. Like, when they first announced it, I wasn't sure at all. I didn't know what they were going with it. But actually, the closer it gets to Backlash, the more I seem pretty hyped for it.
Yeah. Obviously, this all ended in the end with Braun Strowman going absolutely crazy, basically scaring the life into a security guard to tell him where Miz and Morrison are. And then he goes over and he does a typical Braun Strowman thing and flips the van over with Miz and Morrison inside. And we got some great shots of those two just completely just going arse over tit in the van, which was great. Again, I like it when they bring Strowman to do these type of things. Obviously, we all know Strowman is an strongman competitor, but it's nice seeing these type of things on TV sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the thing is, you have to remember that, us as, like, the more kind of hardcore fans, and, like, we love in-ring and, like, work rate and stuff, but there's a lot of stuff that isn't for us, like the you have to imagine, like, if you're like a little kid and you're watching that and you see a guy flip over a van, you're going to think that's the coolest thing ever. So
exactly. I remember the
no,
stuff with Mark Henry when I was probably about 12 or 13 years old, when he was backstage doing all this strongman stuff, and I absolutely loved it. It was kind of like, even when you were a kid, remember the arm wrestles that Triple H and Scott Steiner used to do. Now, I look back at that now and think, what the hell? But as a kid, I absolutely loved it. And I'm not putting this in the same category because I actually really love these segments. I mean, poor Kayla getting absolutely dunked on and watching Miz and Morrison go, you put it on the left. I did put it on the left. Yeah, I put it stage left. There is no stage left.
Yeah, if you mentioned in like silly contests from back in the day, was it Matt Hardy and MVP had like a pie eating contest once, which was pretty
pie
funny.
eating, basketball. They had, wasn't it? This was a feud over the Intercontinental Championship.
US title.
US title, yeah. And that, again, that was on SmackDown. I love those little skits. They were brilliant. I remember. Oh, yeah. So yeah, I'm all for these little skits. Obviously, we know Morrison's great in the ring. Braun Strowman does what he does, and Miz has got himself to a very, very high caliber level for the WWE style that he wrestles. But I know the oversaturation of those three guys in the ring, you can kind of go, doing it like this. Remember, we haven't seen them in the ring now for about 2-3 weeks. So when it gets to the match, it's going to feel much better and much fresher. Yeah. And you'll be like, okay, so we haven't seen them for a while. This should be decent. We'll appreciate it. So let's jump back to the beginning of the show. And obviously we get a flashback of last week's opening segment with Jeff Hardy and Elias, which leads to Jeff Hardy coming out to the ring, thanking WWE management and Fox for giving him some time to get stuff off his chest. And basically he goes over about how it was horrible last week and the injury to Elias. Apparently Elias got off injured, even though they said he could be out for a couple of months, which is just, that's not an easy off. It'd be easy if it was a couple of weeks, geez. But he basically goes in to saying that obviously he arrived in his car at the beginning of the show, and then everything went black, and next thing he knows, he's being handcuffed by police officers, which makes him think that, after 8 months of being sober, I've gone back to my old ways, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm sorry, but you surely would remember what you did after you got out of that car and suddenly you've blacked out. Surely you would remember thinking, oh, you know what, I'm going to have a drink or something.
Yeah, like you'd think that, obviously, like I can't speak about this, but you'd think if you were going to do that, you'd at least be thinking about it beforehand. It wouldn't just come completely out of nowhere like that.
Yeah, and
I don't know. Does the urge just sneak up on you like that?
Like a preying predator? like an RKO ready to happen. But yeah, I've got to say one thing about Jeff Hardy. Obviously, he's a legend in our business, but in 20 odd years, he hasn't learned to cut a good promo. I'm sorry, but this segment, I know it obviously had to be addressed at the beginning of the show, but it just didn't grab my curiosity as much as the segment did last week. And I think it's down to Jeff Hardy's promo style. It hasn't changed at all, and I'm just not a fan of it. I got bored very easy.
Yeah, I think, at this stage in his career, this is probably like his final form now. He's not going to do much more improving after this. And the thing is, I think he's one of those guys where he's always been better as a kind of mysterious figure with like vignettes playing and stuff. Like in the ring, speaking on the mic is not his strength. And we spoke about as well last week whether this is something like we weren't sure whether we were 100% okay with this whole storyline, but we kind of said
if Jeff Hardy is okay with it, yeah, we'd be okay. If Jeff Hardy's okay with it, then we're fine with it. But it didn't, I don't know. After last week's, I was kind of like, oh, where could they go from here? I'm like, oh, okay, never mind then. Well,
I actually heard something quite interesting, actually. Gary Cassidy off of Sportskeeda, I saw him kind of speculating that perhaps they've done this so that when people Google Jeff Hardy, like drink driving, but this storyline is what would come up in the search results as opposed to, the stuff from the history, which is a bit of a shady tactic, really. But yeah, it's definitely something I didn't think about, but I suppose in theory it could definitely work.
That could be a very interesting theory. Yes, politics. WWE and politics. Never happened before in anyway. But yeah, let's get back to it. So Jeff Hardy says he was at the police station and they do the sobriety tests and he passes every single one, and then suddenly witnesses apparently showed up and they say they saw the person fleeing the scene from the car and they had red hair and a red beard. Who could that be? I wonder.
Eric Rowan.
Yes, Eric Rowan is making his return after being released. Another superstar making his... No, it was Seamus. Come on, let's be honest. Completely...
There's only one person it could be.
Yeah, I know. It's like, could it be the guy he's been having a storyline with since he returned? That could be an interesting one. But yeah, so Seamus came out and they had a little bit of a scuffle. And... basically, Seamus is like, stop blaming everyone for your mistakes. You're a junkie, you're an addict, blah, 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 but all the things we've heard. But yeah, so it's confirmed for Backlash. We are getting Seamus v. Jeff Hardy. Now, obviously, they had a match a couple of weeks ago. Nice little decent match. So we're going to see that again now. Which, honestly, I don't have a problem with.
It'd be a good match, to be fair. And, it's not just a match that's been thrown together. It has had quite a bit of build to it. If you think back when Hardy's return promos started airing, and that's kind of really where it all kicked off. Sheamus wasn't pleased with that at all. Those videos seemed to anger him quite a lot, and then obviously now with the angle last week, it's really stepped up a gear. So yeah, this is a match with a bit of a story going, well, quite a lot of a story going into it actually, and on their day, these two are incredible wrestlers. So, looking forward to this match. Let's see what they can put on.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to a good match. I mean, I've got no problem with them showing this on a pay-per-view. We also had Otis and Baron Corbin in a one-on-one contest. And it was all right, but for me, it was more what happened beforehand. Now, a couple of weeks ago, we related Otis and Mandy to the story of Macbeth and Lady Macbeth by one William Shakespeare. And basically, we said how Mandy was leading him to do stuff. Now, if anyone is familiar with the work of Shakespeare, you would know that obviously Macbeth steals the crown of Scotland. And what does Otis do? Oh, he stole Baron Corbin's crown. And it's just, if they got rid of the writer of this storyline and then now, what do we do? Shakespeare will work. It's ridiculous.
Well, they are actively advertising a new head writer for SmackDown, so it might be possible they've brought good old Bill back and he's now writing SmackDown.
You mean the WWE bringing in veterans to do something? What they would never do. They always do that. Yeah, good point. Otis won by disqualification, then hits a flying elbow and a caterpillar after the match as well. And Otis and Mandy celebrate in the ring. We then have a match between Lacey Evans and Sonya Deville. This was a hard-hitting match, and I really enjoyed it, to be honest. And we've talked at length about Sonya Deville over the last couple of months, her improvements with her character, her mic work, finally getting to see stuff in the ring. And I liked this match. It was intriguing. There was a lovely little move to the outside when Sonya had Lacey Evans on the apron, basically just hit her down by the neck, causing her to fall neck first to the mats outside. And I looked at it and thought, ooh, that hurt.
Yeah, it was a pretty brutal match, like pretty physical. These two were just really going for it. Just really, really like stiff kind of match, just beating each other up.
Yeah, and it wasn't just brutal for the two women either. Even the referee apparently got inadvertently hurt. Now, we don't know if this is true or not. I haven't looked into reports, but if this was if this wasn't to work, then completely fine. You know what? Showing the mistake as if SmackDown was live. Okay, no problem. But if this was a work, what was the point? Because all it led to was a quick sneak attack that was during a break. There was no point in this at all.
My only idea as to what it could be is to get people talking on social media. Like I saw a couple of memes floating about, like maybe to just get that, like some kind of memes going around, get the hashtag trending a bit. But
maybe
yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah.
So yeah, Lacey Evans basically ended up winning this match. Mandy Rose appeared on the Titantron called Sonya Ophelia, distracting her, and then Lacey Evans just hits a women's right from behind for the win. So it's good as well because we're getting the interaction between Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville again, and it's keeping it in your minds. And obviously we haven't seen any physical interaction between those two for quite a while now. So when they finally have a match again, it is going to feel, it's my favorite word today apparently, fresh. It's going to feel fresh. Okay. And
it's going to be like the whole Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, like they can be apart for forever. And then as soon as they come back, they just remember how much they hate each other and just start beating each other up again.
Exactly. We get a Matt Riddle promo. Bro, I can't wait for Matt Riddle. I can't wait for Matt Riddle. Oh, I'm thinking about the matchups. Matt Riddle versus Cesaro. That's all I'm going to say.
Behave.
I can't. Okay. We're talking about SmackDown. So we then get a face-off between AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan in the ring. Basically, obviously, we know these guys, they don't need promos to hype up a match. Everyone's hyped for a match between these two. Anyway, so we get AJ Styles saying that Daniel Bryan doesn't need to say anything because he knows he's going to call him a coward. Daniel Bryan's like, yeah, you're right. And AJ's, oh, well, I did the smart thing. You got beat up to earn this title. I did the smart thing and had a rest. And that's what champion does. And they're both talking about how they would be good champions, what type of champions they would be. I mean, we didn't need this, but we all know what type of great match these two are going to have.
Yeah, but you say we didn't need it, but it didn't go amiss either. Like, it was a decent enough promo, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, no, of course it was a decent promo. No problem. But it did lead to a match between AJ Styles and Drew Gulak, with Gulak picking up a surprise win by reversing the Styles Clash when AJ Styles was being just a little bit too cocky. And it rolled him up for the victory, which was nice to see Drew Gulak getting a win on television, obviously after being released or the contract ended and then getting it renewed.
Yeah, interesting as well. Like, you wouldn't, when you're building to a title match like this, you kind of, you try and keep the two challengers both looking strong. So for AJ to be, taking the L like that, I'm not sure where they're going to go with this. Whether down the line, like, I don't know, Gulak gets added in and it becomes a triple threat, or, well, I don't know.
I don't think it'll be a triple threat. No, I don't. I think it's obviously going to be one-on-one, but it's one of those things. It's like, oh, well, I'll fight your friend kind of thing. So I think that's all that was. I mean, triple threat match, I would not mind at all, but we know what we're getting. And we also had a nice 6-man tag team match between New Day and Shorty G and Shinsuke Nakamura, Cesaro, and Mojo Rawley after a bit of a backstage altercation with Shorty G and Mojo Rawley. And this were New Day picked up the win with Shorty G by hitting the Midnight Hour on Mojo, keeping Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro just saving face a little bit so they didn't have to eat the pin using Mojo correctly. Just, again, nice little match.
Using Mojo to his strength, eating the pin.
Pretty much.
If Gronk was still about, that's exactly what Mojo would be used for in tag team matches, just to eat the pin so Gronk didn't have to.
Definitely. And I think that was all of SmackDown. So again, decent episode. I mean, keep on saying this. I feel like SmackDown at the moment is the slightly better show of the two. Between that and Raw, obviously NXT completely different animal. So that does it for this week's episode of Smack Talk. If you want to keep across everything we do, all of our social medias are at TWM Wrestle. We've got stuff from WWE, NXT, AEW, New Japan news. We're going to keep you up to date with everything that's happening there. British wrestling, international wrestling, and lots more. Obviously, keep an eye out on all of our TWM talks, all of our podcasts from this week. Obviously, next week we are changing it up. We are going to a 1 a week show, but we are keeping you with TWM talks when we get interviews and such. Remember to listen to our Anything But Wrestling series as well. Rhys, you had a great talk with Easton Rhys about obviously mainly about rugby.
Yeah, that was a great laugh, like great little talk. You like go check that out. Anyone that is a fan of rugby, I recommend. There's some other good ones on there as well. There's a one with Millie McKenzie. There's also one with Mariah May. So
there's some great, and we've got some great people lined up for our Anything But Wrestling series as well. Also, keep an eye on our social medias on Monday, where we have a big announcement about TWM. Rhys, please share your social media with the kind people at home.
Sorry, did you say something? It broke up.
Share your social media.
So you follow me on Twitter and on Twitch at Rhys on Wrestling.
Excellent. And you can follow me on Twitter at TD Walton. And if you want to find me on Facebook, please don't. That's kind of weird. Anyway, I've been Tom. That's been Rhys. This has been Smack Talk. We will see you soon.